if there has been an energy block, let's say somewhere in the heart, which is the center of just unconditional love, then the energy has to go around it. With this neurological muscle testing that I'm doing, your system is able to share with me where the body is segmented, where these interferences are being held in the body.
Exploring the human journey.
I'm Joy Rigberg, and I facilitate an energy practice called Bioenergetic Synchronization Technique, or B.E.S.T for short. Everything is energy, our thoughts included, and our emotions. The emotions that we are afraid to look at, or that are just too big and strong for us even to approach, become stuck energy in our subconscious mind. And our subconscious mind runs all of the systems of our bodies. And B.E.S.T addresses this by synchronizing and reorganizing the energies in the body so that our innate healing systems can do exactly what they were designed to do, which is heal. Most people are walking around in fight, flight, and freeze mode, and they don't even know it. When we have worry, when we have anxiety, any of these mental ailments are all causes of this subconscious emotional interference. So if somebody comes into me for a physical ailment, say a back pain, I will go through my chart, and with muscle testing, neurological testing, at the legs, at the arms, their system is going to direct their treatment, and it directs me through the chart. What may come up is an interference from a past emotional experience. So the person will be directed to a number on that list, at which point they just hold that thought in mind, not even needing to share that with me, and then I go through the treatment protocol. And at the end, this may have addressed the physical ailment, seemingly not even related. Many people walk out with not only a physical improvement, and also a mental improvement, because this is allowing the energies to flow as they're meant to. Then the byproduct of that is healing, natural healing, as well as reorganize the energy and synchronize our systems so that the body can do exactly what it's meant to do, which is heal.
Hi and welcome. I'm so glad you joined us. More than anything, I want you to have a healthy, happy, loving life. And that is one of the most important things that I've found that Joy is able to do with people. She helps with the energy of the body. Joy, I'm so glad you're here today. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
It's super fun having this understanding of energy. Now, this is not something that I'm I'm a professional at. It's something that I'm new to, this whole energy of the body, because I'm given the narrative that you have a body, you are a body, and then I'm realizing, wait, we're spiritual beings having this human experience, and everything is energy, even down that quantum electrodynamic level. Everything is moving little pockets of energy everywhere. So I'm like, okay, so energy and spirituality begin to come together, and then I hear about Dr. Sue Morter's work about these energy blocks that we can have in our fields, and then I get to meet you and you go, yeah, I know exactly what her process is. I've done the training, and I'm like, really? Tell me more. So I thought we should have a conversation about it.
All right. Well, I love talking about this. So
how did you get into this whole field? I mean, what was it about the energy work that really drew you in?
Oh, I've been practicing one type of energy work or another for so many years, starting with meditation and learning to understand the practice of just sitting with my thoughts, being content with whatever is, knowing that I am not my thoughts. And it took me many years to really come to that understanding.
Well, that's a hard concept for most people. I'm not
Yes.
my thoughts, because I constantly think I'm my thoughts.
Yes.
I'm happy. I'm sad. I'm thirsty.
Yes.
I'm horny. I'm excited. I'm not. I'm depressed. So I live in that mind realm a lot of times.
Right. As do most people.
Yeah.
Right. And the truth is that we are all energy. Now, I'm not a quantum physicist, and I know just a very tiny little iota about this, but for me, it's mostly been experience. So yes, I hear the description and some of the quantum physics, and I have a general understanding. But the more and more that I practice this energy work that I have gotten into via Dr. Sue Morter, the more that I know experientially that everything is energy, including our thoughts.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the biggest thing that I've learned regarding your work is the whole flow of energy, and a lot of it's our thinking. It's the way we're vibrating, the things that we're meditating on, ruminating on. So in your human journey, somewhere along the way, you became very interested in this work. So what led you to this? I mean, did you have some life experience you were going through? What was the synchronicity to find this work?
I have been on a certain, I suppose we can call it a spiritual path for years. I think we can go back to India. Oh. I was gifted one of Osho's books. He's a prophet who has since left the planet, and I resonated with his work immediately. I ended up going out to India to really experience his work in the commune, in the ashram.
You lived on a commune?
No, it was an ashram, and I went and I visited.
It sounds super
and
exciting.
Actually, at the end of the book, it's actually described as a meditation resort.
A resort?
So that's right. What kind of drew me.
So you were at his ashram?
So yes, I went
India.
in Pune, India. I went and spent a few weeks there, and it was interesting because my first name is Michelle, and my middle name is Joy, and this was, I guess, one of the biggest things that I left India with was a change of name. I began to go by my middle name, Joy, and this was a huge evolution. And just even speaking of energy, this energy of joy was such a huge energy at this time in my life when I was not anywhere ready to embody this energy. I was not feeling joy. I didn't want to have anything to do with joy. And I even changed my middle name, Joy, to another last middle name.
Wow.
At that point. But when I went to India, I ended up meeting this man, this 85-year-old man with this beard down to his belly, this gray beard down to his belly. His name was Sam. He was this tennis instructor. They call it Zennis over in Osho.
Zennis?
Zennis.
Oh, fun.
And Sam told me about this name-changing ceremony that Osho, that they had back in the day when Osho would give his disciples, called sannyasin, a spiritual name. And he said that they were having this ceremony this Friday, that I had just arrived in the ashram, and I thought, no, I'm not ready to change my name. But then very, very quickly, another thought came up that if I did change my name, I'm ready to change it to Joy. And yeah, so 3 weeks went by. I was in this ashram, and the seed was planted, and it had been planted before I left. So I digress, because my energy teacher, before I left for the ashram, had already suggested that I'm ready to be Joy again. And she had even suggested changing my name back then, and I wasn't ready. So here I was in the ashram, and at the end of the 3 weeks, after experiencing the Osho dynamic meditations and doing the the dancing and the artwork and the multiversity, all these different classes, I was ready. And so I went through the ceremony, I came home, and I began the next part of my life as joy. I was 40.
I love the difference between joy and happiness. I mean, happiness is, I got a popsicle and am I happy. But joy is just this feeling of well-being, jubilance, a feeling of running over, excited, joy. It's just such almost a childlike innocence, a childlike wonder. So when I think of joy, I'm like, well, if I could be happy, that'd be great. But joy, wow, that's such a... And what a great vibration, though, just to step into an embodiment of joy.
Yes. Happiness is fleeting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can be happy in 1 second and not happy in another second. It's just an emotion that runs through the body. Joy is a deep. I don't know, it's not even an emotion. It's an energy. It's a vibration, and it lives up there with love.
Yeah,
and it is the energy that we are made of.
Yeah. Dr. David Hawkins has the chart of all the different levels of embodiment, and love and peace and joy are way up at the top, near the enlightenment level.
Yes.
And it's just that wonderful, I love that vibration. It's that wonderful vibration. So you're in this ceremony. What was it like at the time? I mean, I love the idea that you've got an 85-year-old tennis instructor with a big beard. And first of all, that's a wonderful story in itself.
Oh yeah, he was something.
I mean, I think of people that are 85 I've known in my life. They maybe not tennis worthy physically. So number one, that's just an incredible person. And then just to have that idea to tell you, oh, you should have a name change ceremony. It was like, what? How did that conversation come up?
I don't know.
Was it an
Everything is
thing?
always just perfect timing. I think he was just letting me know what was going on that evening. So
like it was on the agenda.
Socially, that this was one of the things that I could go. I was there alone, and I guess as a way of immersing myself in the group, with the people, and in the happenings. Yeah.
So he tells you to go to a name-changing ceremony.
Yes.
You feel like there's something you want to have come up within you, and you decide you're going to change your name.
Yeah, not then on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
No, it just started to. Yeah, it was like it was like the sprouting of the seeds that had already been planted. Mm-hmm. And I mean, in my life, this was a coming of the age. It was like the becoming of joy. Mm-hmm. And I was ready enough to begin to embody this huge energy that joy is. I was nowhere near joy in the first part of my life, first 40 years of my life. Yeah. And so it was time.
Yeah, I know that we go through different phases of life. 40 is an incredible age where you've done your 20s and 30s, and you've tried things, whether it was relationships or families or careers. And sometimes at 40, you're like, okay, I need a redirection. Now that I'm in my 50s, and I'm like, oh, I'm having another redirection. And, having discovered these spaces on the timeline of the soul journey, if you will, it's interesting to see how those dots connect. So now you're 40, you have a name change. What happens next? Everything perfect for you? Runs super smooth from there on out?
End of story.
End of story.
All done.
Super easy? Yeah.
No, hardly. So I was teaching. I think I was teaching school at the time. And I ended up coming back. I finished a master's program in counseling. And in this program, actually, I was in a play therapy course. Now I'm Joy. I'm in the play therapy course. And
tell me about play therapy. Is it for adults or children? What is play therapy?
It's for children. I didn't actually go in. I took this as part of my master's program for professional counseling. So one of the books that was used in this course was this book by Dr. Joyce Mills, and it was called Therapeutic Metaphors for the Child Within. And I looked at the back cover. Saw her picture, Joyce Mills, and read her bio, and there was just something that opened in me, and something that led me and guided me to reach this woman. I know that I wanted to study from this woman. I don't know what it was, but I pursued her. It took me a long time. I called. She was in all these different directories, the Ericksonian hypnotherapy directory. I called them, and that was actually how I was directed or given a number to reach Joyce. And
Cool.
The end of this story is we had all these synchronicities. She had been living in Hawaii, teaching and doing this play therapy, which she called story play, during this hurricane Iniki, which was on September 11th. And we have this synchronicity as my birthday is also September 11th.
Wow.
So that actually brought us together. And I ended up having a meeting with her, and she became my mentor. And I studied under her for 2 years. I ended up quitting teaching. I was teaching at the time. I was getting this master's.
That's bold. So that's a career change.
So it was a full career change.
I love the synchronicities in the soul journey, how you're like looking for something and then something happens that it just feels like, ooh, that's serendipity. You know, I strongly believe that the synchronicities are there and available for us to learn from.
Yes.
And I love that you're listening to that and
Yes.
they're coming together.
Yeah. Thank you. That's been a big part of the journey.
Yeah.
Is trusting that pull, whatever it is. Sometimes it's a voice, and sometimes it's just a feeling.
Mm-hmm. And you're listening, your intuition's right there. So now you've got a career change. You're quitting teaching. What do? Do you start working in this field with her? Is that...
So no, I end up rather than going into counseling, I end up going into life coaching.
Oh, cool.
And that was just another feeling that I followed. And it wasn't the easy path, because that would have been a guaranteed, I guess, path of having clients and working with students.
Clients, what's the easy path?
That would have been the easier path.
Okay.
Working in an agency and just having things to follow and clients ready there, ready made, and so no, I did not choose that path. I chose life coaching. I knew that I loved working with kids. I taught school for 13 years. I taught bilingual first grade mostly.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and I was doing meditation and all kinds of mindfulness work with the kids, and so this has been a long going journey, a journey with meditation and mindfulness and energy that I wasn't even aware of. It was just part of what I did.
You have the natural teaching that's already part of who you are.
I'm a teacher for sure. Yeah. Yes.
So then you take the skill set that you're learning with the play therapy, with all the schooling that you've done, you're transitioning away from teaching students and you're going into adult work.
Well, no, I chose going into life coaching because I knew that I wanted to work with kids. I knew being a first grade teacher that I had kids at the age of 5, 6 who were already stressed out. So I wanted to take this work that I had been studying with Joyce, which was living metaphors, hypnotherapy, storytelling, play, all these things combined, indigenous teachings, and work with kids in that way.
So you're working with kids in that arena
as
now.
A life. Yeah, that was the intention. Mm-hmm. It was not easy, and it was challenging. I mean, I did not have as much work as I wanted or needed to pay my bills. So
what happened then?
So things evolved.
How'd you move along that timeline?
So I ended up from that. I was with a girlfriend one day. We were watching the movie The Camino, and that seed had been planted. And then, fast forward, it was time to go walk the Camino. Oh
my God, I've wanted to walk the Camino for a few years.
Yeah.
So how was your experience
doing Camino de Santiago? It was the most amazing and the hardest thing I have ever done in my life.
Wow.
And not just physically. I mean, my body was beat up from the first day, walking over the Alps into Spain and carrying a way too heavy backpack. Ridiculous. I ended up with blisters all over the first day.
Oh.
Yes. And I was with this woman who was my best friend at the time. And that in itself was a huge challenge, right? Because I was dealing with my stuff, she was dealing with her stuff, and this became the perfect storm, this 30 days walking the Camino, for everything, all of our stuff to come up.
Yeah.
And so we were facing our own, I guess, shadows,
Yeah.
you know?
You know, for those that don't know, the Camino is like 500 miles long.
Yes,
and it's
it
a
is.
pilgrimage. It started as a, was it a Catholic saint or somebody in the religious tradition?
Yes, it ends up in Santiago, so I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm Jewish,
but-
so I didn't go for that reason. But
Got it.
yes,
Well,
it did
the
start as
intention
this.
was that it started as a pilgrimage for people that were drawn to this particular
Yes.
saint. But then now it's morphed into just kind of a spiritual practice for you to be in touch with yourself.
Yes.
And if you go with another person, if they have their own shit they're going through, now you're just like, oh.
And it all comes out. It all comes out because you're dealing with the physical challenge, the heat. You know, we were there at the end of summer, so it was very hot. My worst fear was getting bed bugs in one of these places, and
I didn't even think about that. Now I did.
yeah. And I ended up getting something which I thought was bed bugs, but I really think it was just hives, and it was brought on by stress, and it was horrible. But I felt like a pariah with these bumps all over me. So that was not fun at all.
So you go into this kind of as a personal journey. You're with your friend,
Yes.
and then you and the friend have
Yes.
some friction, apparently.
Yes. And lots of lessons were learned along that. You know, the way they call it, because the Camino it means the way in Spanish. Yeah.
So you've got this space. You're working through education. You go on this personal journey. You do the Camino. Move me forward into finding your landing space into where you're starting to work with energy.
Right. So I came back from the Camino and integrated that for months. And it's funny, I was sitting at my desk, and my mom had given me this magazine, in which her house was shown. And there was this ad about mindfulness. And I read this ad, and the person who was the lead in this ad was this man named Jordan Wiley Hill. I read his bio, and I'm like, ooh, I need to meet this man. And he lived in Tucson. He lives in Tucson. And so I called him up, and I spoke to him. I told him what my journey had been so far, working with the kids with this story play, and how I would love to collaborate. Get to, speak with him and find out what he does and how I could support him. And so I drove down to Tucson, and I met Jordan and his partner at the time, this woman, Shelley, who became a really good friend of mine. And I learned that he would go into the schools in Tucson and had a curriculum and would teach mindfulness. He would train the teachers, he would train the staff, and he would work in the classroom with the kids. And I was like, yes, this is exactly what I need to do next.
And when you say mindfulness, give me an example. Is it what are you focusing, or what are you thinking of so your mind's not racing around?
Yeah, so most kids who do have minds who are racing around, or kids who are labeled with attention deficit disorder or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, they don't know how to focus. They can't focus. It's not even a know-how. I mean, I think honestly that it's just that they're more creative than most people, but they don't know how to focus. So mindfulness, and it's not just for this, but mindfulness is to help you to really attune to your thoughts, to really know what's happening, where it's happening in the body. Notice what you're feeling when a certain thought comes up, and and learning some techniques to work through that. So there's breathing techniques. With the kids, there were all kinds of games. Teaching empathy, miming different emotion, faces, things like this that the kids aren't taught. They're just not taught. And empathy can be taught. So this is what it was. He had a beautiful curriculum for all the grade levels, basically kindergarten up through the end of middle school at the time. And so I'm like, I want to do this in Phoenix. I live in Phoenix. So I was able to get trained in his curriculum. That took about a year. And I just immersed myself in this work. And I loved it. And teaching the teachers, because it all begins with the teachers. The teachers are going to reinforce this work. And the kids, this is all about reinforcement. It's like building a muscle, so you got to practice and then just continue to work with it. So you're reinforcing the work. And the schools that I taught in, I ended up starting a mindfulness room in this one school and training the entire school and all the staff, and that was beautiful. The feedback I got was beautiful. The kids loved it. They went home. They had practical tools that they could use to help them.
What's an example of a practical tool?
There's this breathing practice called the sleeping tortoise. The sleeping tortoise, and you make the tortoise like this, okay? That's it. It's just the shell
with your
on
hands?
top of it. Yeah,
Okay.
Here's the turtle and here's the tortoise.
Put me through it. Let's do it.
Yeah, and so with the sleeping tortoise, you just lay this gently on your belly, and the kids love it when they get to lie on the ground. So this is like a first or a second grade class. So they're all lying on the ground, the lights are out, and they're holding this tortoise on their belly. And so I just walk them through breathing out of the belly. So try and do a belly breath. And as you do, you can feel that the tortoise is rising and falling as the breath goes in and out. And so you're just putting the tortoise to sleep. And as you're doing that, the kids are so relaxed. And so you're breathing in and out of the belly, and it's all about just rocking this tortoise to sleep. And so that's a tool that they would use at night. I would hear when I'd come back, they're like, oh, I couldn't sleep last night, or I had a bad dream. And I did the sleeping tortoise breath, and there were so many other things. Beautiful stories, all with metaphoric, I guess, meaning or whatever to these stories. And the kids loved that. So every lesson had a story that I would tell. And they just loved it. They were so mesmerized with these stories. But anyway, all kinds of beautiful tools like this.
You've got these breathing techniques. You've got things to keep them in the present.
Yes.
Move me forward, and how do you get into the Dr. Sue Morter work?
The mindfulness work began to slow down. And I found myself just in a place where I didn't have much work at all. And I'm a seeker, so I'm always listening to podcasts. I'm always listening to self-help stuff, meditation teachers, things like that. One day, and I don't remember what the name of the podcast was, but I heard Dr. Sue. She was being interviewed. And I had been introduced to her work in the past, but not enough that I even remembered anything about it. I know that she had written a book called The Energy Codes. And I listened to her speak, and I just like these other past knowings, I'm like, I love this woman. I resonate with everything she's saying, speaking about the energy codes and her sort of evolution into this work, which began as a kid. She grew up in a house that it was all about energy. She's never been treated with conventional medicines, antibiotics. Yeah. Her father is the man who created this bioenergetic synchronization technique, which we're going to be getting to in a little bit. He and Dr. Sue and her brothers were all chiropractors, and he, in his study, just started to see that people are coming in for pain, for adjustments, right? And that they would return. and they would keep coming back and keep coming back. And so in his studies of energy work, and however that evolution came about, this man created this technique. And this is what Dr. Sue Morter grew up witnessing, experiencing, and then later practicing, along with her own awakening experience and, well, this experience of energy, that she is energy and what that actually means. And that's such a huge story in its own. So
yeah, I got to attend one of her workshops in 2016. And then in 2019, I met her at Conscious Life Expo, and I got to do an interview with her. So I have a small amount of knowledge of the body of work that she's done. And what I'm impressed with is the clarity in which she communicates. And I think the training is phenomenal. So you find this work, and then somehow you're drawn into wanting to be trained by this, and you're putting it together with all of the things that you've learned. Now you're combining her training. Tell me about that process for you.
Yeah, well, I started with the energy codes work. So I wasn't even introduced. I had no idea that this B.E.S.T work even existed at this point. I had taken several of her classes of the energy codes, this level 1 and level 2, and I was just in. I was sold because of not only the left brain, which was being fed, because she's very, she's very scientific, and she speaks very well, and she ends up breaking down these huge concepts into understandable, terms and things like that. But it was also very experiential, so I'm able to, at this point, begin to experience this breath work, this central channel breathing, and noticing the benefits that I was receiving. I mean, an increase in energy and just sort of an ease in my being, and just loving this work. And then one day, I think I got an email or something where she was talking about this upcoming training for B.E.S.T, this bioenergetic synchronization technique. And she described it as this energy healing practice, this light touch, hands-on synchronization technique. And I was so, again, this voice was like, yeah, this is it. You're doing this. And I wasn't bringing in much income at the time. Yet it was a knowing. I'm like, I'm investing in my future, because this feels like what is next for me. I just felt this like synchronization, I suppose, that this is the technique I've been waiting to encounter.
Yeah.
It
So
just
you
fell
had
into
this
place.
you had this knowing, you had the synchronicity of finding her. So you start the training, and did you have that resonance, like, this feels like
I was totally nervous to start this training, because it was very intense. It was 3 days. It was online, so I wasn't, in person with her. And it was their first time, I think, doing this training online, because it was during COVID. You've interviewed Dr. Sue. Every sentence she says has like golden nuggets in it. And so I'm like trying to keep up with my journaling.
Yeah.
There's a workbook that I'm working, that there's with all these visuals, and there's so much going on. And I am a Virgo. So I was doing my best to write, and then
make sure you get everything just
yes,
right.
well, just to get everything. Like, I didn't want to miss anything.
Yeah.
And of course, this was all being recorded. I was going to be able to go back and
That's funny.
listen. So at some point, I actually did relax, and I wrote. Of course, I continued to take notes, but there were several breakout groups, and I had a person who came and acted as my table person, and I began to experience and practice the different bodies of B.E.S.T. There are several. There is a family B.E.S.T, there is a physical B.E.S.T, and then the big body of work is called the emotional B.E.S.T. And And then later there is a spiritual best, which was the part that Dr. Sue added on. And I ended up doing that as well.
Mm-hmm.
But so yes, this training was intense. And at the end, there were many case studies that I needed to do. I needed to pass a test. And then I became certified to facilitate the B.E.S.T.
Now, I've seen you do the work. You did a session with me a few days ago. I had some issue with knee pain, and you're moving my feet, and then you're getting information, and then you're looking at a chart, and you're gathering some words, and then there's numbers. There's a position, your eyes are open or closed, you're looking up, you're looking down, you're looking left, wherever you're at. And then there's different pressure points you'll be pushing, whether it's up at the top of the eyebrow or the temple or in the back, the occipital area. To me, I have absolutely no idea what you're doing or how you do it, but I felt a difference in my body. And after just one session, I felt there's a little difference in my knee. And I've never had knee problems before, but recently I've felt a little bit of knee pain. And so I was like, well, you're like, most people come to me for some physical issue, but it's then often connected to some emotional issue. So then you're like, oh, it's connected to an emotional response. And whatever in a word will be given. Maybe it's vulnerable, or it's demanding, or one of these words. And then there's work around that. What I've noticed from Dr. Sue's charts that I've seen in her workshops is she'll show there's different auric fields, and there's these toroidal fields that come from the heart and around, and then there's blocks. And I remember this big diagram where she's like putting black marks all over and saying, these are the blocks. Yeah. So give some information about all of that stuff, how when you're practicing on someone, removing energy blocks, kind of give us a little context of how that whole thing kind of works out.
Right. So, yeah, as you said, emotion is an energy, right? Mm-hmm. That is often unaddressed. And when we overlook our emotions out of, fear of facing it, vulnerability, or whatever it may be, it gets stored in the subconscious mind. Mm. Okay, and the subconscious mind is running the entire body. That runs our body. Mm. And when the energy is blocked in whatever area of the body, that's what her black marks were just indicating that the energy fields in our body we call chakras. And if there has been an energy block, let's say somewhere in the heart, which is the center that of just unconditional love, then the energy has to go around it to do the flow that it is meant to do. Okay, the energy is always meant to be moving down, up, and all around us in this toric field. With this block, it doesn't move the way it does. The systems of the body can't work the way that they're meant to work, and the body can't heal the way that it was designed to heal. With this neurological muscle testing that I'm doing, your system is able to share with me where the body is segmented, where these interferences are being held in the body. So I'll initially do a baseline check with the muscle testing from the feet, at the feet, because one leg will go short, one leg will stay long.
You physically mean like the legs change?
The legs literally change.
You're
the
holding
energy
my
shifts.
feet,
Yes.
and you're like, oh, there must be a response because one leg is a little shorter now.
Yes.
I'm like, what?
Yes. And that shows me where the segments are in the body, just as a baseline. Okay, so I can tell. So I do that at the feet, and depending on the spasticity, the flexibility of the feet moving in, sometimes I can barely even move a leg, or a foot in because it's super stiff, and that means blocked energy.
Oh, wow,
right?
Fascinating.
Yes, and so it's incredible. It's so incredible. And so then I walk up to the arms and do a neurological test, muscle test with the arm. And it shows me the same thing. If there is a block in the system, with just the thought you're thinking something that is untrue. The system knows something, the system knows energetically if you're saying an untruth, like even if you say your name and then you say somebody else's name, your arm will go weak.
Muscle testing.
So I'm just testing, and that again, it will show me at the baseline where the segments are, where this interference is, where the energy needs to be balanced. Then I begin to follow the chart. And again, your system will tell me, because I establish a yes and a no at the feet, energetically, like this. One leg will go short, one leg will move. Something always changes. In the end of all these sessions, the legs are even, the spasticity is equal, and the arms are lock, solid, strong. So yeah, I end up following a chart which will lead me to the priority in the body. And the body's priority is always life and death. So the body is always looking to keep you alive. It's doing its best to keep you functioning.
Yeah.
And when there's all this blocked energy, the body gets into a state of mostly functioning from this sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight, flight, and freeze mode. And that becomes your baseline state because it's keeping you alive.
Yeah.
Because your thoughts are feeding that, what you eat, sleep, the way you drink, all these other factors, environmental factors, contribute to your energy in your body, of course.
What I love about it is you go, okay, well, if there's a physical, let's say the knee pain, there's some physical thing, you go, even if you don't know exactly what it is, your body will tell me. So you don't even have to say anything. And so you start working with the feet and you'll have a word that comes up. I mean, someone could be like, I don't know what's wrong with me, but I'm going to come and see you. Can you help me? The answer is yes. You'll figure out what that energy is.
Well, there's always something in priority for the body. And most people are living in their default mode. And they don't know what they don't know. So their body is functioning at the level that they're, wherever their blocks are in their body. That's all they know.
Yeah.
So the purpose, the intention of this is to clear out these blocks so the body can function as it's supposed to. The byproduct of that is way more than physical improvement and feeling good physically. I mean, this frees up everything, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, so we can walk through life the way that we're meant to. We can have an upset. We can be triggered by somebody that in the past maybe would have taken us out. Now we have the tools. Our system is working how it's supposed to, and we respond rather than react. We have tools to work with that and to build circuitry. It's all a circuitry problem in the body. And what B.E.S.T is doing is reorganizing and reestablishing the communication from the subconscious mind, where all these memories are stored, with the body. So that the body, so helping to clear out these old emotional patterns that could have come at any time in our life with any trauma or abuse or disease, etc. Right? And this helps to clear out these old patterns because this is energy and it's stuck in the subconscious.
Yeah, we have these core wounds we get, whether we're a 6-year-old kid or a 16-year-old kid. We've got things that we wanted an outcome or had a preference for, and then it didn't happen. And so we hold this energy of like, oh, and then it could be, when I was 6 years old, I spilled milk. My mom said, oh, that was so stupid. And I think, oh no, I'm a stupid person. And then that lives with me. Now as an adult, I'm like, I'm a stupid person. That's a stupid example, but
that's a good example.
You're like, oh man. And then you're able to say, okay, I'm going to help shift and clear that energy out there, and this is such an important part.
Yeah, and so that brings up the idea of the emotion words that you were talking about. So yes, the entire idea is that when these interferences happened in our life, whether they're traumatic or just something simple like that. A child is, painting something on the wall, right? Thinking that they're going to surprise their family with this beautiful painting,
made
right?
a mural for you, Mom
and then
and
the
Dad.
mom comes in and she yells at the kid.
Yeah. How could you ruin our house?
How could you do that to our walls? And so the lesson that the kid gets is,
my creativity's bad, or something I did was wrong.
that's that I'm wrong, I'm bad, and so that is the interference. And so we can be doing a B.E.S.T session, and the system will point me to a word on a list. Maybe it's a door, right? And so this child was doing what he wanted, doing something in hopes of pleasing his parents, and right, and he learns that, oh no, I'm not. This isn't what I wanted to get. And so then, as he ages, the same thing happens. He kind of shies away from doing something good for somebody, or he becomes very defensive, or whatever his defense mechanism is, from experiencing that feeling, right, of being yelled at, of not being seen, or not being right, not doing anything right.
Well, that's one of the big core wounds, is you're not good enough, or you're wrong, or you're not loved. That's been one I've had to work through, or there's something wrong with you that needs to be fixed. And then if you're drilled in with some sort of a religious narrative, I was given a religion, you're not good enough, and somebody has to do something so you'll be accepted. And man, all of these things are so challenging. Now, I love nothing more than the soul journey. Oh my God, that's just the best. After I read Journey of Souls, I just realized, okay, so the soul is here on this wonderful journey of exploration. I'm here to experience, expand, and explore this human thing. But then we get into these bodies, and our bodies have all these things, and as an energy body, wow, we have to navigate health issues. We have to navigate survival, and so we need human drivers, or money and sex. Oh, if I get money and sex, I'll be happy, or whatever. The survival, we need food and sleep and water, and we need community and a place to be safe to sleep, or whatever. The soul is like, hey, I want to have all these experiences, but the body is sometimes like, no. And so there could be a wrestling, if you will, between a soul having experiences and a body saying, oh no, that won't make me safe, and so I can't trust that. And so I know for me, I've had a journey of learning to be able to trust my soul journey, because my body's like, oh no, that won't be safe if you put yourself out there and make yourself vulnerable. But the soul might be like, no, vulnerability is how you grow and expand. And in fact, that was one of the words that came up when you did a session with me, and I was like, vulnerability, because that is such a scary place to be vulnerable. Hey mom, I created art, and if the mom goes, oh, I don't like it, then you're like, ooh, it was vulnerable, it didn't work out, and you can imprint something like that.
Yes.
So how important it is to put that soul journey together with the physical journey, and make sure that energy is able to flow right.
Yes, and this work is perfect for that, because it helps to clear out those subconscious emotional interferences that you were just describing. That just get stored like a photograph, right? It's like, vulnerable. Okay, that's the interference. This kid is going to have a challenging time being vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
So this energetically gets to the root cause of what that was, and then you begin to notice these things becoming easier in your life, and you step out once, and you're like, oh. At the end, I was able to really open up with that person, or do this, or risk that, or whatever it was, and you weren't held back. You didn't have that old fear.
Yeah, I can see how important that is. Okay, so you're doing things with the body, you're getting information, you're giving words, there's pressure points, let's just say, for lack of a better term, you're clearing away things that are like on the soul. Let's say you're doing a soul cleaning. You're cleaning the soul. Is that accurate? Is that something?
No, because it's beautiful, because it's even more scientific. This is all science. This is working with the nerves, like the nervous system. And this body of work works with the nervous system, and it really helps to reestablish this communication that has been lost between the subconscious, which again runs the body. It runs all the systems of the body and the body, right? So where you're saying, oh, I'm here for this soul journey, but the body isn't getting on board, that's because it's not communicating with the subconscious, which is running the body.
Yeah.
So that's what it's doing. That's what it's doing. It's the soul ends up getting cleansed, if you will, right? Because we are the energy, which you can call the soul, I suppose, right?
Yeah.
And once this energy, this massive, like infinite energy that we are, is able to have room to come in, and this body is available and it's open, then all these electromagnetic energies, this invisible energies that live in this toric field around us, are able to, again, do what we're here to do, which is be joy.
So good.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's just beautiful work, and it blows my mind every time I do it. Like every time I see the body react, you know, with a short or a long leg or a weak or a strong arm. It just blows my mind. But yeah, there are other pieces as well, as far as they're sort of pieces of this puzzle, this that will unlock the lock, right? And these pieces are a dominant frequency number, so it's numerological number which holds its own frequency in the brain. Every number from 1 to 9 just works with the brain in a different way. And there is a type of breathing that you will be doing as well. And that what I've learned is typically the way that you were breathing at the onset of this interference. So whether it's holding in your breath or holding out your breath, or there's this rhythmic type of breathing that is done as well. So the system will guide me to which breathing practice to do. And then there is an eye. You'll hold your eyes in certain positions as well. And that is all direct. That's all connected with the neurology, the brain. And it's just fat. And all those pieces put together while thinking of this emotional word as it relates to whatever we're working on from the chart, and forgiving this energy, forgiving it, and releasing this energy, and embracing this energy, even if it's what you would call a hard emotion. These are the ingredients that unlock the memory, this particular memory from the subconscious, and synchronize the sides of the brain, as well as reestablish the communication in the body. And it's beautiful.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to do a demonstration. I want people to really see how you do that. Maybe you can explain a little bit as you're doing it. And then, let's be authentic. I'll be vulnerable. I know in my life I have emotional pain. I have a death of my firstborn son. I went through a relationship transition with Gail. We're no longer in marriage partnership. We still remain very supportive of one another, but that's a dynamic, and you can't help but have grief when you lose some way that you were, and now you have it's just things are different now, know. And then there's just the normal things in life. So I know that
there's stuff.
I know there's fucked up stuff somewhere in there.
We'll find something
you can help fix me with, but yeah, I want people to know how you are able to help them. And so before we do that, how do people get a hold of you? Do they need to do it in person? Can you do it over Zoom? I mean, tell a little bit about the process of your work.
I work out of my house, and it's typically a 30 to 40 minute session, a 40-minute treatment. First one might run closer to an hour, getting to talk a little bit and describe the practice and what's going to happen. I also am trained to work remotely, so I can work over the phone or on Zoom. And this is another just incredible modality. I mean, when I took this training to do the remote healing, it's in the remote B.E.S.T, it just changed my world. So yeah, I mean, my intention is to be able to support people wherever they are, of course. And so that again is in about a half-hour session, and I would talk people through the entire piece, and they can be as engaged, of course, with the eyes and the breathing and the words, you know, thinking of what I share with them. So it's also very experiential, and or they don't even need to be on the phone. So if that's something that they're needing as well, I could work with them while they're not on the phone. And if they can't talk, or they're physically incapable of even getting on the phone, they can just be lying somewhere in their bed on the sofa, and I can tap in that way as well.
What?
Yeah.
So somebody can not even be talking to you and have some experiences?
Yes.
That sounds weird.
Yes.
I don't understand that at
I
all.
know.
I
mean, I understand that. To me still, I you know, this is like where my left brain too. It's like, what, how, whatever, you know. But I understand enough, and I have experienced enough to know that I can ground myself in my own energy and then tap into somebody else's energy field so that we're connected. We're connected. I'm not like taking over their energy or anything like that. It's a connection of our fields. And in that respect, with my imagination, just imagining the client person lying down, I can see their head, I can see their feet. I can do the same thing that I'm doing in person and get the same responses. My hands will do what they're meant to do. That shows me a clear yes and a clear no. So I could do the muscle testing, and then I have my chart still with me here. So it's really as if I am with them in person. It's such amazing work.
How do people get a hold of you? Where can they find you at?
Yeah, so you can find me on my website. It's nextsteprecoverycoaching.com. I have a page that describes the best work on there.
All right. Before we go into demo mode, is there anything else?
Nothing that I can think of. I'll talk you through it as we go.
All right. I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, so I'm ready. Go ahead, practitioner, do your magic.
Okay. So just go ahead and take a couple of deep belly breaths. And I'm going to just test the baseline of the body. And to do that, I want you to think the thought, the sky is blue. Nice neutral thought. Okay. Close your eyes and think that thought again. The sky is blue.
The sky is blue.
Good. Just let me move your legs.
That feels weird. I'm not used to having somebody move my legs.
I know. It's okay. All right. So I'm going to come up and test your arms. So you're going to hold your arms straight up like this, shoulders down on the table, elbows locked. Wrist is floppy. Okay. All right. And I'm just going to give a little press, and you're going to hold back just against my pressure.
Oh, okay.
This is not a physical arm wrestling muscle test, okay? It's a neurological test.
All right, I get real competitive. So.
All right, well, you don't need to win this one because actually if your arm is a little weak, it shows me where the segment or the energy is blocked in the body.
Oh, okay.
So it's actually good, okay? So with your arm up like this, your eyes are open, think that thought again, a neutral thought, the sky is blue, and then hold back against my pressure. Okay, I'm not going to press any harder than that.
Okay.
And then close your eyes, and again, think that thought. The sky is blue. And now hold back. Perfect. Okay, you can drop this arm.
Okay.
And then lift up the right arm. Same thing, shoulder down, wrist floppy, elbows locked. And think that thought again. The sky is blue. And then hold back against my pressure. Perfect. Close the eyes. And again, think the sky is blue and hold. All right, perfect. So now I know where your body is beginning.
So I'm passing the test.
You always pass the test.
Oh, good.
You can't lose this one. And so now I'm just going to test and see where on this flow chart we're going to start. All right? And your system leads us right away to a physical complaint.
Physical complaint.
Yeah. So is there something that's bothering you physically?
I lightly have a little lower left back.
Okay.
It doesn't kill, but I can feel it. A little lower left back.
Okay. All right. So just think that. Okay. Just think that thought. Lower left back pain. And I don't know if you can feel it, but this leg here went short.
What?
Can you feel that? Sometimes people can.
That's weird.
So that's the reaction, because when we started, your legs were straight and even. And this leg went short, and so that's your body reacting, saying, yeah, this is what we need to work with.
Oh my God. Okay.
So now I'm going to find, your body's going to lead me to the emotional word that was the root cause of the interference of this back pain.
Oh boy, here we go.
Here we go.
Vulnerable.
Okay. And the word that comes up is anxiety.
Okay, I've been known to have anxiety.
Okay.
Sure.
And yeah, and sometimes you see an easy connection. Yeah, when I'm
self-employed
anxious,
people, we get anxiety. Sure.
and it may show up in my back, right? Okay.
Okay.
So now I'm going to test and see if anxiety is the right word. And again, the leg, your right leg here is super short. So
yeah, it is. That feels weird. How did that happen?
So that's the energy, right? So it's blocked somewhere on your right side of your body.
Okay.
Okay, so now I'm going to get the other information. I will tell you an eye position, a number to think of, and a breathing pattern. So your eyes will be closed.
Okay.
And looking up. Okay, good. The number that you're thinking of is the number 6.
So I just think of the number 6?
Yep, just think the number 6. And then when I come up to you to hold the pressure points, you're going to take in a breath, blow it out, and hold it out.
Okay.
So your breath will be out.
Out. Okay.
And I'm going to hold 2 spots at the left eye and the left temple.
Okay.
Okay. So if anything that I'm touching here feels a little tender, you can let me know. Otherwise, I will find it. Okay.
Right in there.
Okay.
Yeah, right there. Feels tender.
Okay.
Ooh, yeah.
There we go. Okay. So I'll back off. All right. So when you're ready, you'll take in a deep breath and blow it out and hold it out until you need to take in another breath. Okay. Your eyes are closed and they're looking up. You're thinking of the number 6. And you're focused on this feeling of anxiety. And thinking, I forgive and release and embrace any and all interference associated with anxiety as it relates to this lower back pain. Forgiving, releasing, and embracing all interference with anxiety, known or unknown, conscious or subconscious. Good. Holding that breath out. The number is 6. And the eyes are closed and looking up. And forgiving, releasing, embracing all interference with anxiety. Letting anxiety just become completely metabolized. Transforming and integrating this energy of anxiety. One more time. Good. Blow it out. All right. I feel some good pulses. So you can relax your eyes and your breath. And when you're ready, just lift your head, look down at your toes.
Oh,
good.
Look at my toes?
Yeah,
okay.
that's what we call the righting reflex. That's enough. That's
Okay.
good. Okay. And then you can lift up your left arm. We got the shoulder down. Good. Arms floppy. And you are thinking, I am clear for the feeling of anxiety. And then hold back against my pressure. Good. Close the eyes. Think, I am clear for the feeling of anxiety, and hold. Very good. Okay, drop this arm, right arm. I am clear for the feeling of anxiety, and hold. Good. Open the eyes. Clear for the feeling of anxiety, and hold. Very good. Now think of your back pain, and hold. Okay, close the eyes. We'll come back to that.
I didn't know if I was supposed to open
That's
or
okay.
close.
I'll come right back to that.
Okay, wait.
All right, we'll do it again. Thinking of the back pain, and hold. Good. Close the eyes. Again, think of the back pain, and hold. Perfect. And now left arm. Again, thinking of the back pain, and hold. Good. Close the eyes. Again, think of that back pain, and hold. Good. Up. Maybe point and flex the toes a little bit so this integrates. Yeah, we need the reset to happen. All right. And now again, thinking of the lower back pain, and hold. Good. That's super strong. You can lower the arm. And now I'm at the feet, which are even now, and you're thinking, I'm clear for the feeling of anxiety. Nice and flexible, in and out. And then close the eyes and think that again. I'm clear for the feeling of anxiety. Good. Good. And now thinking of the lower back pain. Good. Yeah, you're allowing me to move your legs now. And then open the eyes and thinking of that lower back pain. All right. Good. All right. And then this is where your system tells me that your body is balanced.
Oh,
So
well, that's
we
fascinating.
are done. And so what we'll do at the end of a practice here is a contralateral exercise. So if you will, just come and sit on the end of the table here.
Okay.
Or on the side of the table. And so this is one of the fundamental or foundational things that we learn as kids is this cross crawl. Right? This is integrating the left and the right side of the brain. So you're just going to take your right hand, touch your left knee, and twist your body. Good.
Twist.
Yep.
All right.
And then the left hand, touch the right knee, twist the body. Do that a couple of times.
Oh, like you're moving? Okay.
Yeah, like you're crawling.
Oh, that feels good.
But
Those
on
are
the
good
table.
stretches.
And there you go.
Awesome.
And when you're done, of course, you'll go and you'll walk, drink a lot of water, and then come back and see me again.
Awesome. Joy, thank you so much for sharing your work. Thank you for sharing your human journey. And I appreciate the contribution you've been to me, and I can't wait for the next session.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed myself.
Thanks for joining us here on Exploring the Human Journey. You can find us as a video on YouTube or listen to us as a podcast. For more information, go to the website at exploringthehumanjourney.com.